Hi everybody, thank you so much for joining the Abroad family. Today I wanted to address some of the questions that I got across one of my videos. The video that I posted about why I left Japan. Many questions has come in. Welcome back to the channel. Today I'll be doing something a little different, a Q&A session where I'll be answering some of the questions you have asked in the comments. Thank you so much for the support and curiosity. Let's get right into it. So Livaruski wanted to know my journey to Japan and also from Japan to USA. When I graduated from high school, I always knew I wanted to study abroad. I just didn't know how to approach that. At the time, I thought I wanted to go to Turkey because Turkey was very popular. It was a preferred destination for many Liberians because many of my high school friends ended up going to Turkey to study abroad. So myself, I did the same thing. I applied to go to Turkey. Unfortunately, I attended a couple of interviews, but it was very competitive. There were much more smarter students who was getting these scholarships. For me, I consider myself as an average student, so it was very hard for me to compete. But I always believe I will be able to get something at the end of the day if I work hard. So I really like writing essays. Even though my grades in high school was not the best, I knew with my writing skill, I might be able to land a chance one day. What I did was I started to apply to so many different schools, and then I landed on this opportunity in Japan. I got admitted to this university, Ritsumeikan Asia Pacific University. Maggie Travels wanted to know how I got a visa. First of all, you have to apply for an admission at the university. Once you get admission from the university, they will send a document to you called COE, Certificate of Eligibility. So once you get this certificate, you are going to use this to go to the Japanese embassy and apply for a student visa. It's called the Ryugakse visa. So once you apply for this visa and get approved, then you can book your flight and go to Japan. If you want to study in Japan, you have to figure out what sort of program. I saw a lot of people going there for learning Japanese, basically language schools. If you want to do that, most often these programs are for 2 years. So you figure out how to get a school in Japan, a language school, apply. Once you get admitted, then you can go apply for your visa. For me, it was an undergraduate program. That means I had to apply for a visa, which would be valid for at least 4 years. You have to renew the visa when you go to Japan, and your school should usually help you to do that. I hope I answered that question well for you, Maggie. So Caro wanted to know about racism in Japan. Let's address the elephant in the room. Racism in Japan. Over the 4 years period I've lived in Japan, I've never come across racism. So when I say racism is being confronted by a local, I never experienced that within the 4 years. I mean, there are cases where people might not like you, but usually they will keep it to themselves. One thing I know about the Japanese people, they tend to keep things to themselves. So in most cases, even though somebody don't like you, they're never gonna come up to you and tell you. For example, here in America, racism will look like being confrontational. People can actually come to you and tell you stuff. For example, go back to your country. I've never experienced it here as well, but here, people can become confrontational, while in Japan, nobody is going to approach you to tell you something about you going back to your home country. People will always be nice and respectful to you, no matter where you come from or no matter what race you are. Well, Liberia was actually founded by the United States in the 1800s. During that time, people in America wanted to repatriate the slaves back to Africa. So Liberia was the first country they came across. When they went across the Atlantic, they found Liberia, and many free slaves ended up fleeing from the United States back to Liberia. And then that's how they was able to establish a colony, which ultimately became Liberia today. I would explain more about Liberia in another video. Richard also said something about loneliness. Well, in Japan, people tend to be very much reserved, and there's always layers between friendship or relationships. So even if you have friends, you would truly not know their problems because people don't share their personal lives to friends. It's not like here in the West or other countries where you can share your problems with friends, and being too self-conscious can give you this anxiety of explaining your problem to people. So in most cases, Japanese will never tell you their problems. Even if they are facing the worst problems ever, you will never know because they're never going to tell you. Hence, it's hard to help them if they're in a problem. If they're in any difficult situation, you're never going to know that. So honestly, that was one thing too I came to find out the longer I stay in Japan. For me, my mindset never changed about that. So I would explain my problems to my friends or even strangers, because sometimes if you don't talk about it, you don't find solution. Hence, you keep it inside and then it eats you up. So if you have someone, share it with them. Caro also wanted to know about Keigo. I strongly believe that Japanese still have to learn Keigo because it is not a common language that people use in their everyday Japanese. As a Japanese, you already have a foundation. So with that foundational knowledge, it's much easier to integrate within the Keigo atmosphere. So I believe Japanese also have to learn how to use Keigo in the workplace. So for a foreigner who make the extra effort to learn Keigo, it is going to be beneficial to you within your professional career because people will respect the fact that you put in effort to learn Keigo, which is extra layer of Japanese. So if you make that effort to learn Keigo, it is going to help your professional career in Japan. So I saw a few comments about people questioning the fact that I left Japan, which is a safe country, to US, which is known to have a lot of, dangerous situations going on. You are right. Leaving Japan to America, in terms of safety, it is quite crazy. So for me, this move is about embracing the challenge, but I believe that growth always comes with discomfort. At the end of the day, everywhere you go, there are challenges. So you have to pick your battle. For me, I pick USA because I think it's much easier for me to live here with the challenges that exist here. So for Japan, there are challenges. Safety is something you'll never worry about in Japan. On the other hand, here in America, you have to think about safety sometimes, but it is something that will not bother me. It is something that I am willing to adjust to. Ocean View also wanted to know how I live in Japan for 4 years and also New York City, considering the fact that I'm not working. Well, first of all, when I was studying in Japan, I was on a full scholarship. So I had no tuition to pay, which was covered by my university. And thanks to my university for giving me a full scholarship. And then I was on the MEC scholarship, which is the Japanese government. So the Japanese government, they were paying me to study in Japan. And with that scholarship, I was able to live in Japan, at least for the first year, very comfortably. I was traveling. Working part-time job was the last thing I was thinking about because at the time I had Japanese classes which I had to focus on a lot more, and also I was traveling. I didn't have any financial issues at the time. I was able to upgrade my laptop, my phone, and basically everything I needed for school. I was able to take care of that, and also I was able to take care of my rent because everything was coming from the government. I was getting enough money to pay for my living expenses in Japan since my tuition was already covered by my school. I will give more details about the scholarship, the type of scholarship in another video, but for now I just wanted to mention that I had full scholarship to study in Japan. For the first year in Japan, unfortunately, I failed in Japanese and I couldn't get the score that was required to stay on the MEX program. So I lost the scholarship after a year, and then I had to work part-time jobs. So I did so many different types of part-time jobs. I did teach English in Japan for over 2 years, and I also work at hotels, the restaurants. I was able to maintain myself in Japan after losing my scholarship, and the other job that I did for quite a long time was teaching English. I was able to work with a company where I would travel across Kyushu Island to teach English. And this job gave me the opportunity to travel to almost every prefecture in Kyushu Island, which include Fukuoka, Nagasaki, Kagoshima, Saga, Miyazaki, basically almost every prefecture in Kyushu. I was able to travel to these places and teach English. And this was one of my best experiences in Japan. Another job I did was teacher assistant. Honestly, teacher assistant will not give you so much money because teacher assistant jobs, usually you get it from your university. And to be honest, you will not get so much money at your university. There are a lot of students and the university doesn't pay so much. They pay quite low compared to part-time jobs in restaurants and other companies. This is all we have for today's video. As always, thank you so much for watching. I hope I will see you in the next video. Please don't forget to leave your comments in the comments down below. Bye.